Hi there, everybody. Fred Evander and Amy Christensen here at 434 South Main with Jennifer Flores. And Jennifer, what do you know about your house?
I know that it was built in 1914 by Archibald Buzz Sloper, who was a prominent person here in Independence. He and his brother and his brother-in-law, once upon a time, had a hardware store at the corner of C and Main, where the park is now. The Sloper family also opened the first grist mill here in Independence. They took the sawmill over and then they opened a grist mill there as well. Buzz Sloper brought the first automobile to town, and he built this house in 1914. It was the third house built on this block. We had the Dunkel house. We used to have the Dunkel house next door, which was built in the 1890s, I believe. And then the house to the house's left was built in 1901, and then ours was 1914.
When we look at this house, we dive into the history of two really influential local families, and Buzz Sloper, his full name was actually Chester Oak Buzz Sloper, and his brother was Willard Arch. So their grandfather moved here in 1870s, and so they did the sawmill in the 1870s, the first flour mill in the 1880s. But then, like a lot of independence stories, they went from milling to agriculture, and they became really successful hop farmers, actually. Buzz's father died when he was quite young. He was only 8, but their mother and her father continued family business. Her sons ran the hop farm when they finished school. In 1908, Buzz married Prushia Newton. Yeah. So the Newtons were another local family. They moved here in 1904. They were influential hop farmers as well. Prushia's younger brother Sid actually wrote the history of independence that we still use to this day, and was mayor in the 60s and 70s. So their family is completely woven into the history of independence as well. So both Buzz and Prushia finished school here at the local, what was then the public school, so all the grades in one building. And then she went on to the normal school in Monmouth about the time they got married. In 1913, they purchased this property. And one thing that was kind of interesting about their county records, where it shows the purchase of the property, it does say C.O. and Prushia Sloper, not just C.O. Sloper, which is a little bit unique at the time, and I thought might be a little bit fortuitous, because in 1952, Prushia became the first woman city councilor in Independence. So she was clearly an influential woman.
Yeah, and but I know that a lot of influential people in the state have lived in this house. That was some of the research I did too. Some of the state departments that we have, health and human services, those kinds of departments that we have in the state, a lot of those folks have lived here, and mayors have lived here, and city council people have lived here.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I know that Buzz and Prushia were really involved in the community. They had their fingers in everything. They were in the Knights of Pythias, the Christian Aid Society, but her main focus was actually the Garden Club, both here and regionally. She was in leadership roles in organizations, and there's a ton of news stories about her going around and presenting about, so she was clearly a skilled gardener, which is kind of neat. Back to the business that you mentioned. So in 1913, Buzz and Arch purchased the Hanna Brothers, or the Hanna Hardware store. It became the Sloper Brothers and Cockle store, like you said. And that's when both Buzz and Arch, and actually their brother-in-law Bill, all built homes here on this stretch of Main Street, so be closer to their retail business. And Buzz is the one that stayed. They both went back to the hop businesses at one point or another, but Buzz and Prushia stayed focused on the retail, and she was the bookkeeper. So they were really invested downtown. In the 1920s, the business moved across the street to the west side of Main, in the building that was the old opera house upstairs, and it became Sloper Hall. And Sloper Hall was incredibly important in the 30s, 40s, and 50s in Independence. There was not a weekend that there wasn't live music, dances, boxing, political rallies. So their name was associated with all of those events for many decades. So yeah, they would have known all of those heavy players like you mentioned. And then let me just to wrap it up a little bit. 1950, Buzz passed away. Prushia did remarry in the 50s, but she stayed in this home until her death in 1977. So the Sloper history in this house is the history of this house. Actually, I did want to show you one thing while we're here. We've got a picture. So this is Buzz. This is an image of him, obviously, when he's a little bit younger. And then this is Prushia when she was on City Council.
Oh, here. The only woman.
The only woman. And we see Prushia here.
Yep.
So it's pretty neat history.
Strong lady. I've gone to their graves in Salem and just clean them up. Like, I don't know how much family they still have around or how distant that family is. But I did go and visit and clean it up and just say, like, thanks for my house. I love it so much. And so I did that too.
Well, thank you for talking to us about the history of your house. You have an incredible history that you get to live in and share with us, so thank you.
Well, thanks for wanting to learn about it.
So when we look at old Sanborn maps of your property, we can see, yeah, indeed, the porch used to be open, and right now we see at least half of it's gone, half of it is enclosed. It's interesting because when we look at that, and you mentioned Jane coming out here and showing how it might have potentially looked with a pergola on it, you can see in that instance there is a pergola on the side of the thing, just sort of an artistic depiction of how that might have looked. It's interesting because when I was looking into the property just a little bit more, and I came across this is his brother's house, and amazingly, his brother has a pergola on the side of the house. And I just think that's an amazing thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the brother's house. I think it's 838. But I often go past it and think, yeah, I'm sure that they were kind of trying to have similar homes. This guy, his I don't know what that's called, but it's a little more decorative.
Yeah.
Whereas mine has it has this part that arches up and on the top is flat. So that's their own decorative pieces. But then I thought too, maybe they were trying to match this house a little bit with the porch. Because it's kind of mirrors the porch next door.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I just thought that was very interesting that indeed, because this was built around 1914 as well. And so to have such a similar feature on the brothers' houses was a very cool thing. Now, just because city change is an interesting thing, I mean, this is a picture of what that stretch of South Main looked like. That was the building at Main and C. And you can see it's got a lot of Italianate features, very similar to Ash Creek Veterinary, but there's more detail on that building. This building, of course, was demolished to make way for the park, right, Amy, or what?
It was demolished actually previous several decades to the park, But yeah, there was a fire along this stretch. It used to be where Independence Enterprises building was as well. And there was a famous bar on this stretch, of course. I think that they officially came down in the 60s. And also, just to point out in this picture, we have Bill Cockle, and this is Buzz Sloper.
Cool. That's very cool. Here's another picture of it. And I guess what I would just sort of emphasize here is the importance of C Street. Mm-hmm. I don't really think that a lot of folks really can perceive of just how important C Street was when we look at it now, going down to the hotel and everything like that. But you can see the big covered awning right there as goods and whatnot were coming off the river. And
Well, and that goes into the story you told about the car, because when the Slopers brought their car here in 1910, it was actually a huge ordeal.
It was.
This was not even paved yet,
Yeah.
so they had to bring the car in on a boat. Story goes, and you know it because it's in the book, that there was a huge crowd that went down to the end of C Street to watch them bring the car off the boat and roll it down the street and drive it down to Hopville, where the hop farm was that they were living on at the time, because it was a big ordeal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And then didn't he give rides to a bunch of people too? Like it was a huge affair that there was a car in town at that point, and everybody's just in awe of it.
Yeah, and so just one more picture, really trying to conceptualize how C Street might have looked back in the day. Did look back in the day. And one cool thing I'll call out about this picture is that is a bridge right there going down to the river. And so right about where Osprey Point, the building is, there was a bridge at one point, and you can see them constructed that in that picture. Now, one thing I will call out is the siding on the building is not the same as it originally was. This is a replacement siding. Now, it's interesting because when we look at the Sanborn map, we can see that it had your garage pretty near the creation of the house. This garage right here, it's interesting because it almost seems like we can see some of the siding as it probably would have originally been on the building on the side of that. And so I think that's kind of interesting I bet you could look at that and get an idea of what the siding was like. Jennifer, thank you very much for sharing your house with us. Hopefully we were able to share some information with you, and thank you for teaching us as well.